Sorry. I have a new microphone. It's a real fancy one. It's like for podcasting, but I still don't know how to use it.
Podcast when?
Well, we want to shoot a little bit more tutorial videos. I mean, the 0.6 video was nice, um, but I realized I did not have the setup I wanted to have, or at least when I listened to it through headphones, it's not great. And then there's a whole do. How do we turn on the video filters? I don't want you guys to see my apartment. This is my apartment. I don't want you to see it. Evan, your apartment looks very shiny today.
It's too blurry. We cannot see it.
Oh no? Okay, all right. Let me start this event. Oh, is it already started? Someone already started it, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Good morning, everyone. Evan, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. It's a nice day here. It is not burning down here. I hope no one is in LA. Is anyone in LA? Los Angeles? No. Where are people coming from today? What country, state do you live in? I live in California. I could show you the outside. It's very sunny. It's very blue. It's good weather. It's remarkably good weather for January 8th.
Yeah, less good weather in Kansas. It's all frozen.
Did anyone get a
So-
white Christmas? Did you get a white Christmas, Evan?
I don't think so. I wasn't out and about on Christmas, so I don't
No.
know.
You didn't go outside to
Tradition.
see the the snowfall?
No, I had stomach flu.
No. That's terrible.
But there's plenty now. There's like some branches on the trees where there's ice that's thicker than the branches. It's weighing everything down.
Yeah, I am not living that reality. I think it's like 70 degrees today. It was like perfect. I walked into the apartment. It was a very nice day. That reality. I think it's like 70 degrees today. It was like perfect. Andrew, how's it going? Long time no see.
Indeed. Well, everything is fine, but I will have exam in 2 days. So yeah.
What's the classes for? What are you taking?
Do you know wavelet? Like
Like signals and
maybe I'm
systems wavelengths?
pronouncing it wrong. Yeah, signals.
Oh, whoa.
It's the only
Okay,
math class, like the only the last three are just like automatic. Like we have some exams that we can like automatically graduate just because some special conditions were met. Even though when you just enroll in the university, they say we don't have such things. But here we are. So yeah, the on the 10th I will have my first like proper exam. It should be pretty easy, and then I think I will just do my stuff. Probably have to finish my Nix OS configuration so I can finally switch to Nix OS. Yeah.
Oh,
So
no,
other exams
please
I
don't.
just don't. Why? What's up?
I feel like half the bugs we have are like
You
related
don't.
to Nick. You're gonna double that.
Well, after I switch to Nix, maybe I will start contributing to Dioxus again with full force.
Why do people use Nix?
So
What is
you lose some, you win some. Well, it's just cool. Oh, well, I can say for myself, I had in progress like one script, one shell script that I was doing for a long time. That you just when you install like PopOS or Ubuntu or something, you just install it, run the script, and it's supposed to install everything. So it's like one script and everything installed. And I was developing it for a long time, and I didn't develop it for a long time as well. And then I heard about NixOS, and I was like, it's the whole purpose. It's what I've been doing this whole time. And you can really just use one command, and you install your entire system with one command, and it's pretty exciting. So that's why I want to switch.
Mm. And you do that frequently. You install your entire computer frequently. So much so that
Well,
you want to switch your
no,
operating.
but
I can't even remember the last time I turned off my computer.
well, I can say that I had an emergency where I had to reinstall basically the same setup, and it was partial because I don't have a proper way to. I don't have any backups or like proper backups. So if I had NixOS config, then I would have easily accomplished this. So yeah, and it's
Okay.
just fun. It's just really fun to tinker around because like coding and stuff.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Okay. All right. We'll get into it. I now realize I could yap for hours. Uh, Today's office hours. We haven't done office hours in a moment. My fault. Somehow I'm always traveling, and sometimes the traveling always lands on the same day that office hours is. So in the future, if I'm traveling, we're just gonna move it a week, either in advance, like move it up a week or move it back a week, or just don't travel on those days. The cadence we normally try to do these is like once a month. It used to be like once a week, and then we went once every other week, and I think even that's a little too frequent. Um, so once a month, ideally the first Wednesday of the month. You'll notice today is the second Wednesday of this month. We moved it because of the holidays, so there's a chance we end up moving them. But first Wednesday every month will be here. Trying to be a little bit more consistent with the communication that we put out. I think for a while we were trying to ship the last release, and it kind of went on for a while. So going forward, we want tighter releases, and we just want to be a little bit more consistent. So, I mean, that's on me. The team is great. The community is great. Everyone still submits bugs and pull requests, even if we're not having office hours. Um, I put out a new discussion post like 2 minutes ago. Well, I guess 12 minutes ago, 2 minutes before this meeting started on Dioxus 0.7. So I think maybe for the first couple minutes of our office hours, we can like workshop it together. It's a rough plan of what we think is important and what we're trying to address in the next release. We're just going to try to ship some of it in 0.6.2, 3, 4, whatever. But then some of it will be breaking and we actually can't ship that. So we have this like sequence of backporting fixes onto the old branches and then bringing them into new versions. So we're going to do a little bit both. So here's the GitHub discussion. I will share my screen somehow. Window. Well, hopefully everybody can see. Does everybody have access? Yes.
Yeah. We can see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So 0.6 was a lot of work. 0.5 was a lot of work. 0.7 probably be a lot of work, but I think we want to be a little bit more rigorous with our release timeline. I let 0.6 slip. It basically became 2 releases. Like, I don't know if anyone read the 0.6 release post, but it was really long. It was definitely 2 releases in 1 release. Some of it is like pieces are interconnected and it makes it harder to ship, but other parts of it is just like we're not rigorous with it. So the goal here is no matter what, well, I say no matter what, March 31st is the estimated release date. That's a Monday, which is usually the days that we release. So that's a good goal, and it's also exactly the end of March. So we have 3 months from 8 days ago, so a little bit less than 3 months from now, to get all this stuff out. The main headlining feature of this release is going to be shipping Nico's work. I don't know if anyone has been watching, but we have this project called Blitz, which is very cool. Let me go to it real quick. Blitz is a native renderer for HTML and CSS, and it's built on Servo. So I don't know if anyone familiar with Servo? You guys like know what Servo is?
That's in Firefox, isn't it? The rendering
Yeah.
engine.
Yes. Well, not all of it. Gecko. The Gecko part. Gecko Firefox. Yeah. Is Gecko just? I think Gecko is just like chunks of Servo that made it into Firefox. So like, yeah. Do you guys know what Servo is? Have you heard of Servo? Servo.org. You guys see my screen, right? You can see the Servo page. Yeah. So Servo is basically what Rust was built to build. So you build tools to build tools to build tools. Rust was originally built to make Firefox better. So Firefox had a lot of bugs, specifically CVE, a lot of security vulnerabilities that like a systems programming language was designed, like Rust itself was designed to address. And Servo is that like test bed of like what Rust is for. So it's very interesting. A lot of the code here was written like 10 years ago, before Rust 0.0. Now we have Servo as a staging bed for new components that make it into Firefox itself. So Gecko is like the CSS like selector engine, like you take a CSS style sheet and then you're able to like run selectors against it. You're able to resolve styles on the DOM. That piece of code actually lives in Firefox, but that piece of code also now lives inside of Blitz. So Blitz is taking that Gecko engine out of Firefox, out of Servo, and then actually building a like WGPU renderer around that. So WGPU.rs. Yeah. And WGPU is a very interesting project. It's also like tangentially, indirectly inside of Chrome, Firefox, all these things, because of the rendering API that it provides. So this is like a very popular rendering engine in Rust. There's like native bindings to it, which is what a lot of projects use. If you're familiar with Bevy, like I think Bevy is probably one of the most, if not the most popular Rust project. Bevy also uses WGPU. So in this new world with Dioxus native, we'll be able to actually take Dioxus, like the DOM tree that you rendered today, and instead of rendering with a web view, which is what we do today, you'll be able to render it with just the GPU. So that's like the headlining feature, and like this is similar to libraries like Iced and eGUI that also have WGPU renders. So Iced, I think this is like a popular one. What are the benefits of WGPU instead of a web view? So the most interesting thing you can like why would you do this instead of sticking with the web view? And the web view gives you a lot of like JavaScript APIs, a lot of web APIs. WGPU gives you like direct access to like textures on the screen. So you could, in theory, instead of rendering a div in like your DOM or your widget tree, you can render like arbitrary stuff like metal textures or shaders. I think Iced has some really cool examples. We'll go to the website. Or really cool stuff in their gallery that showcases like why it's interesting that you have WGPU. So for like example, we'll take one of these, like this Neothesia theme. Do they have a good GIF of it? Like you have way more advanced control. Yeah. So Halo, for example, you can edit WGSL. Are there videos now? Well, you can zoom in on some of these. Some of them are very interesting, like graphically. Like you can do things in them that you would have to go through like the Canvas API in JavaScript to do, or you simply just can't do in JavaScript. So doing a WGPU render, one, gives us like way more advanced rendering control, and then two, lets us run on very small devices, things like an embedded Linux system. I think, Evan, how big is the Blitz engine right now?
I think it's like 2 to 3 megabytes
Wow.
before like any compression.
Yeah, so like the WebView stuff requires basically an entire browser, and I think the smallest you can get, like Chromium, is like 300 megabytes, maybe. I don't know how much RAM that takes. What sort of like memory usage on Blitz right now? Do you know?
Not sure.
I think it's somewhere in the ballpark of like 15 megabytes or 65 megabytes, something. There's like you're allocating some GPU buffer, so that's like a shared memory thing. Yeah, so we'll be able to render your existing Dioxus apps, maybe not with 100% fidelity. Like I think we're not passing all the CSS tests right now. I think if Nico was here, he could tell you, I think it's like 35, 40% at the moment, which is pretty good. Like if you think about it, like we're rendering the DOM from scratch. And we can render 40% of web pages in the test suite, so it's not 100%. Yeah, so a desktop app. So just the rendering engine is like 5 megabytes, meaning you can run this all like on an embedded Linux thing or like a Raspberry Pi, and it would actually hopefully stay performant in a way that putting Chrome on a Raspberry Pi is not performant. If you guys hop in the native channel, not that I want you guys to leave native channel or leave our current channel, there's a lot of discussion, and let me paste one of the examples. So for example, here, I'll copy this image and paste it in our chat. Yeah, so this is an example of like Blitz rendering GitHub. So GitHub is able to be rendered without any JavaScript execution. There's a quite high fidelity actually of GitHub. Like if you think about it, like we're rendering the web from scratch. There's like not many things like this. There's a couple of tools like what is it, Ultralight? I don't know. There's a few. We have Ultralight. I don't know if there's any other ones outside of Ultralight that like give you a rendering API. And Ultralight, I believe, is just JavaScript. Like you can only modify the DOM via JavaScript. I don't think there's a C++ API. Maybe. Anyways, I think that like the strategy that REST GUI libraries have taken to date is like create their own layout system, create their own styling system. You create your own widget system, and a challenge here is like you don't have a spec to shoot for. You don't know what like works. So you have to not only build your rendering engine, you have to figure out like what works for people. So taking this approach meant taking a lot longer, I think, to get like V1 out the door. This is a year of work for Nico. Well, I think we started the prototype in like January of last year of like, can we actually do this? And Taffy had to be upgraded. A number of libraries had to be upgraded. Stylo itself, like the chunks of Firefox, actually had to be upgraded for this purpose. But yeah, so a year later of like part-time work. This is, it's not like 80 hours a week in it or anything like that. We'll have Dioxus native that actually should look and feel like your existing Dioxus apps today, but be rendered on the GPU. 5 megabyte binaries, 10 megabyte binaries, 50 megabytes of memory usage. So a lot more devices you can run Dioxus on, and making it a little bit more comparable to stuff like Slint, Iced, eGUI. All those have like other really good domains, but we're hoping to expand the domain that like Dioxus can be used in. Something else we're going to be shipped, which is kind of big, is this Rust hot reloading via binary patching. Actually, we've figured some of this out last year in June, like the middle of last year. Evan and I went to Rustanel, and I got really hyped on the idea that we could actually patch Rust executables. And then after that, so I think we went in May, and then in like 2 or 3 weeks later, I was like, okay, we can do this. We can ship it. It never became the most important thing. There was way more important stuff to do. But I think now our plate is a little bit opened up. We have a lot of bugs and stuff to fix, but our plate has opened up a little bit that we can actually ship the prototype. So I don't know if you guys can see this. I'll post it in the chat. We built a prototype that you compile your app once, and then every subsequent compile to your code, we do a little analysis of like the new executable versus the original. And if the new executable is compatible enough, we can actually strip out all the symbols, like the functions that didn't change, and only load in new functions that have changed into a running app. And this works for WebAssembly, this works for Linux, Mac. We'll see how it works for Windows. I don't know anything about Windows, but I know the first three. We can ship the first three. And this would let you hot reload a Rust code on the fly without actually tearing your apps down, which would be quite incredible if we can get this shipped. So the prototype's there. It takes a lot of work to productionize a prototype, but this will mean like true hot reloading of Rust, which is a little bit closer to React Native and Flutter, which both have very sophisticated hot reloading engines. Will Blitz embed the CSS files? Blitz should just be the same experience as the current web view stuff. So like literally you would just enable the native feature on your apps, and then you would just start using like the Blitz rendering engine instead of the web view engine. Yeah. Yeah, so these are our, like the two big features, this binary patching, Rust hot reloading stuff. We want to ship this for WebAssembly first. It's like easier to understand. It's easier to work through all the mechanics. WebAssembly is a little bit smaller of a spec than stuff like, whatever the Mac instruction set is. They all have their own special formats. So we'll ship that first. Hopefully a prototype that can be put out somewhat quickly. This will be in February that we do any of this harder work. So I also have a timeline on here, and then we'll add other platforms as we go. Is the idea to eventually drop support for WebView stuff? No. I mean, I still think a lot of people will want to use WebView until we're at like 100% parity with rendering a Firefox, and then even then, there's you want to use web APIs. I think we also have a longer term idea that we can make WebSys work natively, like not in the browser. So in theory, you should be able to take all your WebSys code that you wrote for the web, and it should just work for native apps. I mean, this is like the selling point of Tauri to an extent, is like you build a web app. You're not building a desktop app, you build a web app that like calls desktop functions. But I don't know. Miles, I don't think we're going to drop support for WebView anytime soon.
Yeah, there's so many different libraries that are really useful in like browser-based APIs. I think it wouldn't be worth dropping support. Even like web components, you can use like web component and component libraries right now. That's useful to keep.
Yeah, and web components need JavaScript, right?
Yeah, I think it's the entry point's always JavaScript, at least.
Sorry, Miles, I cut you off.
I agree with Evan. I think we should keep WebView for a long time.
Yeah. I'm excited for the days that we can like do hot reloading on a Raspberry Pi and it's like all binary patched and all that. I have a lot of like little tinker projects. But even then, I think for building desktop apps today, I almost think that WebView will always be better. We'll see. We have a bunch of other stuff. So I think the third biggest thing is the component library. We'll probably talk about that today. Like, that's probably the number one thing we could co-design as a community. Hitting a spec for HTML and CSS is one thing. Binary patching kind of straightforward. But like, what should a component library look like? I think we've held off on this for a while, or like we've been paused on it. Mostly because like if you're coming from a web background, it is unusual for a UI framework to provide a component library. That's just like that's not in the culture, I don't think. And there's good libraries like Daisy UI. I think there's like a Material Dioxus. Evan, you know the component libraries better than I do, I think.
Yeah, I think the biggest one is the Daisy UI one. But there's a couple other ones. Most of them are existing styling frameworks ported to Dioxus. I don't think there's anything that's like designed from scratch.
Yeah. So for the component library stuff, I think we're mostly convinced that it makes sense to at least provide or start the effort on porting primitives to Dioxus. So rather than us providing a full component library, maybe building just the primitives, like the radix primitives equivalent. So if you guys are familiar with ShadCN, this is like a Tailwind library built around radix primitives. And radix primitives are things like, this is a combo box, this is a calendar, this is a dropdown, this is a sidebar, this is a nav. I know I love building components, but it definitely seems like most people kind of just want to get to work with their apps, and it's in the culture for a native framework to provide its own widgets. And if you look around in the Rust ecosystem, stuff like Iced and eGUI, they provide, a set of base widgets that are helpful for you. So Dioxus is trying to be both a web framework and a native framework. And I think it's in the culture for us to provide a component library. So this is something we can talk about today is like, what would you want in V1 of this or V0 of this? What is missing? What do people run into? I'm always building components from scratch, but if there was something like Dioxus UI that I could like tap into that had all the primitives, I would most definitely reach for it. And then kind of in the style of us trying to do things, but trying to do things really well, we would want it on the website. So the dioxuslabs.com would have components in the nav bar, and you click on it, and there's a list of 50 components that you can use in your app. And if it's something like Shatsian, there's like a copy to my app button, or it's just in some crate, which has all the components in it. So I'd love to get a sense of what people want out of component library, if this is something we should even support. Yeah, big plus one for having officially support a component library. Okay, good. In the nav, there's a list of 50 components you use in your app. And if it's something like Shatsian, there's like a copy to my app.
Ex-French president is going to.
Yeah, so like a copy to my app button. So I think this is something where like integration with the Dioxus CLI would be interesting. That you press copy to my app, and like if you have a running Dioxus CLI instance, like it would find the components.rs file, add a new like mod with that component maybe. I think is that the culture people want, like a Shatsian, rather than like a bunch of pre-built stuff with a theme, like just being able to have the primitives and then build around it. And I think, I mean, we're gonna, well, I want to hop in and help. I definitely want to build components, but I think this will be like Miles, your big project or the project you want to work on. If you have any thoughts on like what we should be including or what like ideas that you wanted to bring in for the component library.
There's one thing I'm wondering is if people are people using Tailwind for the styling or for the components or both? Like, is there people leaning towards just wanting the components, or do they want to use the styling?
I think it's a good question because like the second you opt into Tailwind, you opt into Tailwind's like CSS resets. Like then Tailwind becomes your framework,
Yeah.
Yeah. We could do something like a scoped CSS. I mean, that's not on our roadmap for this. Like that could be the approach we take. I do like Tailwind. It does seem like the de facto like styling library these days.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of the component library being like a type and accessibility layer over the DOM. So there are some DOM APIs like multiple select that make events and other properties kind of awkward. Like everything's stringly typed in normal RSX, but components you could use like actual enums or like the multiple select input. Because of that, we have to make value a vec instead of a string, when in most cases it's a string, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I use components like there's a set of components you can copy and paste from Tailwind UI, like their official component library, and then you can easily like modify them once they're in your app.
I think I like that. If we were able to do like a scoped CSS, that might work well, or there's like a CSS file that comes with it, but then it's not like a full reset, right? I mean, like Tailwind is kind of a reset, fortunately. Yeah, I kind of think it's in the culture of like we provide the primitive, so we fill out what are the equivalent to radix primitives is, like basically what Shad's is built on, and then people can style it however they want. It would be nice that like there's pre-built themes for these things. We'll figure it out, I guess. I think the people coming from like native GUI development, they just want widgets. They just want stuff to look good so they can build their app. Whereas like the web folks really want the detail. They really want to control all the pixels. You kind of have to like figure out which direction you want to go towards. There's a lot of components. Some obvious stuff like payments. I think someone has been requesting this a lot, that we have some sort of thing in our SDK that helps you do in-app payments. So maybe some of it requires setup. Charting libraries. There's a good Dioxus charts one. It'd be nice to integrate the primitive charts into Dioxus. A lot of graphs, dashboards.
I'd like to see a Stripe Dioxus library.
I would too. I have an idea for a photography app I want to put out there, but then I'll need to charge for it because it's not cheap. Something in this space, so going back to our roadmap, we want to do the playground. We want to publish our playground. We published it for a second, and then I think it had some issues, and then it's... I don't know if you can visit it. It might be hidden. I think it's still a root. I don't know. Miles, you have a demo of this. If you want to demo it, that'd be great. I can kill my stream real quick. Do you have a demo?
I will have to set it up.
All right. Well, you can do the demo in a second. We'll yap about it. I think it'd be cool to have like long term. I want like a component designer, not like a full IDE, but like we give you the primitives, the combo boxes, the date pickers, the selects, and all this, and then you're able to like build and style them on the website. And the playground is very good foundation for that. Of like, here's 100 examples of what you can do with Dioxus. We have a playground. You could do something like CodePen or Blitz Stack or something. Stack Blitz. What is like the default one that people use for? I don't know. Whatever. Like you're able to load a Dioxus app, but then the new playground I believe has hot reloading in it. So like you can edit the RSX, and without having to do a full rebuild on the server, you can actually see the UI style. So maybe some sort of very light, what you see is what you get component builder tool on the website, and then you can say add to my app, and then that drops it in, and then you can do like tests and styling. Access charts demo is really nice. Oh, it is. Look at all the charts. Did you build this, Evan? Someone else built this?
No, someone else. This is the just demo website for the library. It's linked to.
Oh, it's cute. I like the colors.
Yeah.
And then Charming.
Yeah, I think Charming is like a cross framework thing, right?
Oh, there's a WASM renderer. Oh, they do look cute. Yeah, maybe we'll build something around Charming. He's got a lot of supported stuff. I've always just dumped Plotly into my apps, but I think for like dashboards and stuff, Plotly is not pretty. It's not. It doesn't have that like rich interaction.
Oh, I love the gradient example. So nice.
The theme river charts. These always look so cool. If you add animation to any chart, it'll look, yeah. Well, there's a cool, what is it? Was it Dioxus Motion? It just came out. One of the folks, yeah. This is really cool. Let's go to the website. I love that he's been so, oh, look at this. So cool. That's a great website too. The text is freaking out a little bit, but ooh. And I believe this works with Blitz. There was a cool GIF in the native channel, where like Blitz just out of the box works with all this. So 5 megabytes, you get cute rendered flower animations, value animations, all this stuff. That's awesome. I'm very excited for the next release. I do really think like you put a lot of these different. I mean, these are long pieces of work. That's kind of why I'm like calling it like the quality of life and long piece work or long work release. Like we've had some of these projects going for a very long time. So finally, them being able to see the light of day and everybody getting to play with them will be really fun. Yeah, Rust hot reloading. There's some changes, some updates to full stack. We'll keep going. A component library. I believe Miles has had this issue open for a very long time that was like all the stuff we need to do to make building a component library easier. And I believe we've knocked them all out. Maybe we don't have like the SAS or SCS module support or something like that. It's still one of those things. But other than that, we're kind of in a place where a lot of work is maturing. This doesn't need to support 100% of websites since this is for apps, not rendering legacy websites. Yeah. I mean, truly, you don't need a lot of like one of the things we're failing on right now. Like half the test suite is failing is like right to left writing direction because we just don't have that implemented. Which I mean, it does cut out a lot of users, but I think the number of tests is not necessarily represented with the number of apps that people would build. Use the Lottie files in Dioxus? That is a great question. That is a great question. I don't know. Lottie Rust? I don't know. Maybe you can figure it out and then make a library for it. So the tools I use are able to export Lottie and SVG animations, and usually I just click the export SVG. So like, for example, this Dioxus Labs animation is handmade in a Lottie editor, but they have a SVG export. So, but I'm not sure. Scoped CSS and components would be nice. I don't know how to implement scoped CSS. I figure we could implement like class name extraction.
There's libraries external to Dioxus that have scope CSS as a macro. So you do scope CSS, it imports a file, and then like inlines the styles and modifies all the styles, add a class name, and then the macro returns a class name or something. Then you add that to your element, and then it's all scoped.
Interesting. Okay, we might end up. Facebook has one. JS AtomX. They have some. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think it's like you're kind of like Tailwind CSS, right? Like compiles.
Stylex. Okay, Stylex JS. Oh, slight tangent. Recoil, my favorite library in the JavaScript ecosystem, just got archived. Like it was honestly, it is what a lot of our signals are based around of. Like the principles underpinning signal, like our signals are the stuff in Recoil, and this just got archived, which is so sad. I thought it was a great library. This is terrible. On January 1st. Anyway, yeah, Stylex. Stylex, I think, is the yeah, terrible gift. Stylex is like CSS in JS, right? Yeah, because that's what this is. And then it creates scoped class names. But stuff like Astro, I believe, lets you import a CSS file and then it's scoped. Is it like they're single file components or Vue, right? They're all single file components. And then I believe there's like a renaming system. Like it basically renames the class names to the hashed version. Like there's a compiler step. It's sad. Same issue with scope CSS. Yeah, there's a lot of like design decisions we made because of hot reloading. Like the way we implemented it requires like, knowledge of like the contents of your templates in a way that like all the view, like single file component library, single file component frameworks approach it. But with like the true hot reloading stuff, we might be able to expand some of the scopes for these APIs. Because like today, if you did like an include CSS, let my CSS equals include CSS, and then like my CSS dot some class, as if it like exported some class. This would have to be some like uniquely hashed name that doesn't collide with any of your other classes to be able to use it in a scoped manner. But that just didn't work with hot reloading, like the old hot reloading engine, because this is like code generation, right? Like this is a new static. But we might have some room for more design flexibility in the future.
I have the playground demo ready.
Oh, sick. Yeah. All right, we'll do that in just a sec. I'm curious what this stylers thing is. Fully compile time scope CSS. Oh, for Leptonus, cool. Years ago. Yeah, something like this, I think. Style. Though this is like CSS in Rust.
Yeah, but with those like include macro, we should be able to pull it out easily. As a macro.
I'm slightly concerned about compile times with us getting too crazy into macros. But there's truly a chance we just go fix that in the Rust compiler. Like, there's a non-zero chance one of us starts hacking on the Rust compiler. I know, Evan, you have been interested in this, haven't you?
Yeah, I did look into it a little bit more, and I think their caching system is solid, but they're not applying it everywhere. So.
Okay, well, we have a little bit of funding we can throw at crazy ideas. Making Rust faster, making Rust better for Dioxus is one of those. Okay, Miles, you have your demo. You want to show off the playground?
Yes.
All right, let me stop sharing. Ooh.
You see it?
Oh, yes. You want to make it a little bit bigger? Zoom in a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Nice.
Alrighty.
So what is
so
this?
The Dioxus playground is, if you've ever seen the Rust playground, it's basically that, but for Dioxus. So you can write components and render them all in the browser. So the Dioxus playground will have hot reloading and a couple other small things from the CLI, like translating HTML to RSX. So hot reloading.
It's so cool to see in the browser.
Then paste as RSX. Didn't work. It's odd. I have to look into that, but it should be printing out the div and then an H1 tag.
Oh, it's because your second H tag is called high.
Oh.
That's a new element.
Yeah, I'm working on new stuff here.
Is that using the DX translate stuff?
Yeah.
Ah, okay, cool. Well, that gives me an idea for a bug that we have. These should be self-closing.
And then when there is a non-hot reloadable change, like you will be able to rebuild it. And you get hot reloading back. And we have errors, so say mistype element. You get inline errors. And currently it's still work in progress because we should be showing the errors over here, but we haven't implemented it yet. You also get some basic share functionality. So you can click the share button and you get a big link that basically just contains your code, and you can give it to anyone to load up your project. And then lastly, we have some examples.
Oh, that's sick. Oh, I'm in love. I want to put like 1 million examples on the website now.
Andrew, it does not autosave changes. So if you want to save your project, you gotta click the share button and save the link somewhere.
You could probably
No, I
save it
mean,
to.
when you change the RSX, do you press Ctrl S or it just automatically changes? Applies the changes.
So the hot reloading, it will automatically just, there's a short delay after you stop typing, and it'll check if it can hot reload.
Oh, okay.
I want a component editor so bad. I just want to drag and drop my apps together. Awesome. Okay. We'll speed run whatever's left on our window. We'll speed run what's left over here. We talked about a lot of the big stuff. We'll make some time for questions, and people can get help with their projects or learn how to contribute or figure out how to contribute. There's a couple other things we want to do. Some just basic cleanup around like our error types on use server future, use future. I think we might look at changing some of those APIs a little bit. I don't know the design we're gonna go with, but there's like a bit of an issue now where you suspend a server future and then you have to wade through like 3 different option result option or something like that. And we will probably end up changing that around so it's easier to do that. I don't know. I think I could see a world where it's like use suspense and then you question mark out and then you get a value. I don't know. Unclear where we're going to go with it, but we want to make that a little bit easier. WebSockets in SSE seems achievable. We just needed like a new return type on server functions. But that would let you like connect to your server and have like long running tasks between the server and the client, which in theory should set up stuff like live view. I don't think we're going to kill live view in this release. Live view just will slowly atrophy, but I think we maintain it enough. But the goal is to get all of the functionality that you would have had on live view onto full stack. And then we're going to focus on smaller binaries. So there's some hacks, some tricks. I think we might be adding some extra sections to our compiled binaries or not running it through WASMopt properly. Like we should be stripping some sections that we're not, and some of our functions are a bit larger, some monomorphization. So we'll try to work on binary sizes. I think it's about time we put Tailwind into the CLI in some form, whether it's like a post-run script or a pre-run script or a serve script or some pseudo plugin system, something. This is something I think people have been asking for a very long time, and we're kind of just like shoving it off because in our mind the solution is like really complicated, but in practice it should just be like we run the Tailwind serve command alongside your like normal serve if you're using Tailwind. So again, don't know what that's going to look like, whether we're like running Encore CSS. I don't know if you guys have seen this. Something like this, like we run a tool ourselves, or we just use the Tailwind v3, v4. Whatever we do, I really want Tailwind in the CLI because I do frequently forget to like turn on the watcher, and then I'm like confused why my classes aren't updating. We have a bunch of stuff for CI that we want to fix up on our end. One of the things we're bad at is not having regressions between releases. It's usually like 0.6.2 that will be the better one. 0.6.0 is like we kind of broke something and we didn't realize we broke something. Some of it is it's a symptom of like hard to test these things, but other parts of it is like we just don't have great harnesses. So for example, DX bundle tends to break frequently, sometimes out of our control, sometimes in our control. At our CI for this, I want to release a better Rust caching action. So like if you build Rust in CI today, you use a caching like layer stage, right? Cargo Chef for Docker, and then there's something I think it's like Rust Cache for GitHub Actions. We could build a better one. There's no incremental builds there, and part of it is because of the way like Cargo invalidates the cache. It uses the modify time on the system. You can actually go write that yourself to fool Cargo into thinking things are cached or not cached. I think we'll probably make a better caching or go make changes to the Rust cache GitHub action that makes that better. And part of that is we also want to cache your assets. Manganese, I think right now our doc site takes way too long to build, and a lot of it is like 100, 200 images that we're optimizing on every incremental build. Yeah, Evan, you're familiar with the woes.
Yeah, I think I found out that's an issue with the doc site, not with manganese. But yeah, we're clearing too much.
Whoops. And same with SSG is a little bit flaky. My bad. I mean, there's a hard-coded 10-second timeout for the site to finish generating. Just arbitrarily. I think you have a PR out for that at the moment.
It should be fixed, hopefully.
I know you added the whole target, and then I deleted it, and then like what I replaced it was like 10-second timeout. I feel bad, but it just didn't want to support more targets. We'll probably also ship. I say probably. I want to. I think it's necessary. Ship a telemetry integration. Telemetry is occasionally contentious. I want anonymous opt-out telemetry to understand like the panics and the bugs people have. I think what you see on GitHub issues is a small percent of all of the people who have issues with Dioxus. And I don't care what you're doing, or maybe on the first run you opt in or something like that. I really don't care who you are or any of this, but what I want to know is like where are the panics happening and why is stuff crashing. I think we get a lot of bug reports from the NixOS people, but we don't get a lot of bug reports, I assume, from everyone else. Like you go to a release, there's bugs in it, people don't see, or people use it once, they run into some issue right off the bat, and then we hear about it the next time we release code, and they're like, oh, 0.5 wasn't great because there were bugs in it. Like we would like to know where those bugs are. So telemetry is going to be on the roadmap. Yeah, and then a lot of video tutorials. So I think the goal is six videos. We put out 0.6 as a release video. I'd like 6 videos, 2 month. We have the hot dog tutorial on the website. I'd like to make a video for that. Hopefully we can channel our Gen Z energy and make them engaging and fun. And then, so of 6, we'll have the hot dog tutorial, and then we'll have the 0.7 release. We have 4 videos that don't have anything planned. So if you guys have ideas for videos you want to see, I will sit here in my apartment. I'll pump them out. I'm just going through the comments right now. The Dioxus errors to be telemetrized. Perhaps. We'll probably mess with the defaults. I think I like opt-in, anonymous opt-in by default, or they're like maybe 2 tiers. Like you can opt into a rich version of telemetry or something. Hot dog video. Yeah, any ideas for the 4 videos? Anything you guys want to see? Just hot dogs, apparently. To-do app. What about like building a to-do app? Is that like the hello world of UI frameworks?
Something mobile would probably be good.
Buy hot dog with Stripe integration. You can buy hot dog. Oh, you can add your hot dogs to the blockchain and then you can buy them. The hooks, state management. State management is definitely a hot dog component. Wow, people love hot dog. I'm glad the tutorial. Yes, Andrew, because of you, I'm going to put this out there. I added an entire chapter in the tutorial, which probably didn't need to happen on databases because everyone's asking about databases. And there's literally, I wrote this by hand. ChatGPT didn't write this. I wish ChatGPT wrote this. I would feel bad if it did. But there's like, I went and researched a bunch of databases for everyone and then looked at all the Rust libraries. I'm surprised that there's fewer Rust libraries for doing databases, to be honest, that are frankly ergonomic. Okay, Tailwind effectively.
I sure will have to read this. Can you give a link? Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, this is in the new hot dog tutorial.
I'll read it.
Full stack with authentication. Yeah. I feel like we need an hour-long video of like 0 to 1 B2B SaaS with Dioxus, which is like auth, payments, queues, mail, all this stuff, which also pushes us towards building better stuff for the web. I mean, it's not this release, definitely. And I think even the next release, we're probably not going to focus too much on like web stuff, like databases and all that. But I think later in the year, we're going to kind of look at the status quo of the Rust ecosystem and be like, all right, are there ergonomic database libraries? Are there ergonomic web server libraries? I'm not necessarily glued to Axum long-term for Dioxus. I think we could build something a little bit more ergonomic for us, or a little bit more user-friendly, developer-friendly. We'll look into it. And I think building our little B2B SaaS with the homies will be fun. I tweeted this at one point. You guys get to hear my tweets because nobody likes them on Twitter, but you get to hear my tweets in person. A tsunami almost destroyed San Francisco. I got the warning. I was about to die. I went and tweeted. I was like, at least I'm doing the thing, like I'm building B2B SaaS with the homies before I die. So I thought it was funny. We'll make videos on building B2B SaaS. I would love like a gallery video or like a showcase. So we have the I Made a Thing channel. I would love to bring some of the people who've built cool stuff on to like showcase their project, like give everybody like 2 minutes or a minute or something like that. Could be a regular thing too. You know, you get to show up on a Dioxus Labs video, get to show off your project. Yeah, I mean, Tailwind won't become the requirement. But it is nice. There's a challenge where like it is the CSS reset. So if a library is using Tailwind to style itself, it just is implicitly like what applies to your page. Our video. I could yap for 2 hours, Andrew, for sure. Yeah. So there's a couple other stuff, some full stack tweaks, the integrating the error types we talked about. We'll probably add like a Cloudflare target for deploy. I think right now we only build like what you would normally do a server. I don't know, like typical like AWS EC2 instance or like a droplet on DigitalOcean or Fly micro VM. But I know a lot of people like Cloudflare workers. So we should probably add the ability to build this backend for Cloudflare. You could do it today. Like it's not like you can't do it today, but we don't expose this easily. So I honestly don't know what the design there would look like. But maybe like an additional flag that's like build my server as a WASM server or something like that. Or Dioxus.toml thing. Evan, you might have some ideas. Maybe a WASM server feature on Dioxus.
Yeah, we support it today. You have to go through Axum still, but Axum does support WASM, so it should work. Or WASI. But the server function collection is the big thing. That doesn't work on WASM. So you have to manually like register every server function, which isn't terrible, but we could shim over that with a CLI.
I do wonder, can you deal open yourself? WebAssembly, you can do this, right? Like if they all end up in a table, it's WebAssembly. Like if it's just WebAssembly, you can, if you just need to support WebAssembly, you can like read your own tables and then like, all right, this is a ifunc. Let me register this. Let me go try to parse some stuff at runtime.
I think WebAssembly is probably the hardest architecture to do like self-modifying executables on because the memory and the functions are in different spaces in memory. There's not a pointer type to a function.
You can modify. You can modify tables. I've been looking into this. WebAssembly has this whole thing called tables for indirect function calling, and you can do this at runtime, but you have to write like raw WebAssembly to do this. We'll look into it. I think we can solve this now that my head has been inside of WASM for a while.
I would also add like documentation is a big thing we'll be working on in 0.7 that I don't think has been mentioned yet, but there's like quite a few full stack features and then some of the new features we've mentioned in blog posts. Like suspense, I don't think is well documented anywhere.
No. We have 141 bugs. Well, actually, we had 141 bugs. We have 116 now. We worked through 25 of them yesterday. Yeah, I'd also love. So yeah, I put this on the how you can help. Our documentation is rapidly improving, but it still isn't perfect. And I think everyone has a different idea on how docs should be staged. So we have this new tutorial, which I think takes up most of your sidebar over here. And I rather like core concepts thing. I imagine building UIs with RSX could be much longer, or state management could be much longer, or they could be like a little less harsh. Kind of just drop you in. I would love some feedback on like how to improve these, or as people read through them and are trying to solve problems with their apps, how do they want that information presented to them? What else, documentation wise, Evan, are we missing or could get help on?
Yeah, like as you're reading through the guide and the essential sections, just what you think is missing. I know there's a lot of like state management stuff and full stack stuff. Or what like concepts do we not explain well? What concepts are confusing? Like our terminology for signals and reactivity is kind of weird right now. We switch it up versus like the rest of the reactive frameworks, and even then we're not consistent. So things like that where you notice inconsistencies or concepts are more confusing than you think they should be, or we don't like link to more in-depth places. Like in the guide, I think there's some links to more reference style material, but adding those is also useful.
Yeah. So there's some comments in the chat about the release process and migration guides, or I guess migration for React. But I think we really want to document our breaking changes as we go as well, like a changelog.md, which I feel is like the bar is here, right? And right on the bar is like having a changelog that you build as you go, and we don't even do that. I think we're gonna want to fix that process on how we go about documenting things as we add new features. I don't have a good long-term solution of like
Speaking
requiring
about
it.
documentation, what are your thoughts about translation, the doc side? Is it feasible at all with how Dioxus switches documentation pretty often? It will probably become outdated when people translate to different languages, the whole website.
Good question. I don't know. I would love someone on staff to maintain all of our translations. I don't know. Evan, you have any thoughts?
We have a like method of doing code so that it never gets outdated, but yeah, I'm not sure how useful translations that are outdated are versus just like having a translation service or ChatGPT translate the guides that are already there, and those are hopefully more up to date. Because we've had like Portuguese translations in the past, and I want to say Chinese or something. There's been a couple different translations, but they didn't last very long. Was the docs
There are a few translations, but they are only for the README file, I think, and that's it. And that's kind of weird. Like the translation for just the README file is kind of useless, I think. Well, maybe just to get you started, but still not enough.
I believe one of these had multilingual. I might have dropped them. We had
I think it was removed.
Yeah.
In 0.3, I think we had Portuguese support.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we'll add a translate with ChatGPT button. That is pretty good these days. Yeah. We'll say. Hopefully most browsers do it. Do you find that okay, no, we got two brus. All right, so it's not good. I don't know. All right, we got 2 votes for bruh, and we got 1 vote. Okay, all right, Mark. Just leave translation to AI. Yeah, I think so. I think probably would have taken a little bit more seriously maintaining translations if the AI stuff hadn't gotten really good. Hey, honestly, the AI stuff might paperclip all of us, and all this Dioxus stuff is all for naught. But in the meantime, the AI will translate our docs. I would really love to see the tangent. I would really love to see us integrate some of our AI work from last year onto the component page on the docs. That'd be cool. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I
if
kind of
use
want to do Dioxus context or something as a full stack app. Just like search the docs and provide context to some AI model. It's a good dog food app.
Would love to build a context.txt. I have no clue how you get these models to like look in there. But like if our template, if the Dioxus template had a context.txt, then like everyone's AI stuff will just be that much better right off the bat. We could probably drop a ai.txt.temp file or something.
Yeah, I
Kind
think
of AI.
documentation should hopefully help. Because it's got to be pulling from that at least.
You updated this recently, automated QA thing.
Yeah, I have another pull request where it does like proper HTML structure generation. I have a generated parser for the whole HTML spec with different types, but I don't think it's been merged.
There's issues, HTML constraints. You know, maybe we pivot into AI app gen, and then we can raise $150 million and like Cursor. I am amazed that Cursor. I learned recently how well Cursor's doing. Oof. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Do we build our own bolt, or do we integrate with the bolt of the world? I don't know.
I kind of wonder if app generation actually becomes that good, if app generation is something developers do at all. Because if you can generate apps on the fly, there's no like point in having them. Like everybody's UI could look different.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of people want to do AI stuff to like grift. Well, okay, not really. I think a lot of it is cool. Definitely is a hot space for money, but I think we kind of just want to do it because it's cool. The idea of like, I don't know. I see a future. You open VS Code, you type dxserve, you get a window pop up that has like a tiny little IDE, like a micro IDE, and then you're able to like natural language your way through of like, or not even natural language. You press like create page, and it like adds the page to your app, and it like uses the AI tool to do it. I think it'd be really cool. Yeah, yeah, or like storyboarding, or like add a dark mode to my website. Like I hate building. We have so many bugs with dark mode. Has Cursor gotten better? Last time I used it, I wasn't a fan, but that was like a year ago.
Yeah, ChatGPT and all kinds of search tools link to old versions of Dioxus. I have a pull request open for a sitemap, which should hopefully help. That just includes like the latest versions. So that's supposed to like push Google to index those higher.
Damn it, there's conflicts. Yeah, I would have merged it right now. Can I resolve? I'll do it after this. Yeah, this is why I'm thinking like a context.txt that we drop in into your assets folder maybe, or I don't know. Do the models even respect it? Will they know to look for that, like a context.txt? You know, does anyone know how this stuff works? I feel like I'm fighting a ghost. It's like, Claude is not great with the Dioxus. Like, okay, all right, how do I go fix that? I have no clue.
I think Super Maven would. So it like trains based on the repo, but I'm not sure what Cursor does.
Did you see Cursor bot Super Maven?
Yeah. I don't know if I want to switch to Cursor.
I switched to chat or to Copilot. I switched back to Copilot. It's a little overzealous. I think it gets Rust worse than Supermaven, which maybe I'm going back to Supermaven. Yes, Mark, you missed a lot, unfortunately. Here, we put this here though. I feel like building in the AI tool space is a tough place to be because like today you're building, you know, call center voice bots, and then tomorrow O3 comes out, and then your company doesn't exist anymore. And it seems like if you build UI frameworks, OpenAI won't come after you. uh, so I really don't know where to slot it. Like I feel like Bolt or V0 or something like this. It just seems like tomorrow that you know OpenAI will come out and they'll be like, oh, this was a good use case. Like Vercel, like V0 definitely feels like a theme that you know OpenAI would come out tomorrow. Like Claude has what their workspace or their artifacts or something like that.
OpenAI has that too now.
Yeah, so it's like I don't know. Maybe the playground with the like Claude attached to it would be useful to people, like a little online editor studio thing. I don't know. You haven't updated Freya to 0.6 yet? Why? What? Is it the handler leak? That is fixed. I don't know, I have this idea that like pre-AI, Rust would have been a hard sell for UI, but post-AI, you need to know that much Rust to ship a cross-platform mobile app. I don't know. It's like almost like an assembly target for the AIs. Like you don't need to know the bar checking rules yourself. The AI can just do that. We kind of just build good tools. We build like hot reloading tools. We build cross build tools. You make reliable tools, and then like kind of like the AIs assemble it. Yeah. No crons. It's not. I deleted it from this document, but like the draft of this I put out was it's probably on here as well. I think like working as a team and like working as a community, a clear release process, automating releases, better harnesses and testing, just being more focused and being like strict to deadlines and dropping stuff that doesn't fit the scope. So, I mean, this Rust hot reloading, I put it at the top of the list. There's honestly a chance we don't ship it, right? I think everything else comes first. I think Tailwind support comes before Rust hot reloading, even though I think Rust hot reloading would be like a huge win for Rust itself or like the ecosystem. People are building apps today just fine with Dioxus. And what they really care about is like Tailwind just works and hot reloading is more reliable and assets are handled properly on Windows.
Anyway, you'll still be able to use pure CSS for a while, or is it going to be absolutely mandatory to go Tailwind? I take it the problem is with native rendering, right?
Using CSS for native rendering?
Yeah, I mean that probably you cannot use CSS for native rendering, and so if when you're done with the native render, then abandon CSS if we want to have to compile to native, right?
The idea for the native renderer is that it supports CSS. So it's like really hard. It's like a very long project, but the idea is that the CSS looks the same for native and the web.
Look, that would be totally amazing. I kind of am a bit allergic to Tailwind, to be honest.
Something I've learned is that every developer has different opinions. There's not quite a hive mind. There's a little bit of a hive mind, but it seems like everybody has their own ideas of what works and what doesn't. I'm curious, yeah, why you're not a fan of Tailwind, but yeah.
Well, like I've learned CSS, and I feel like this is relearning CSS for nothing, I guess. For me, I don't feel the benefit, and I have to find the tailwind syntactic sugar for things that I can just write out in CSS. And yeah,
Mhm.
I don't feel like it's making my stuff, my code clearer in any way. So
That's fair. Yeah, I think that's why we
Having, I would say that
we need.
having CSS in the application level code is already a red flag that application should be written with components, not with divs and CSS, and that should be the goal for Dioxus in the long run.
yeah, it is with components, but the CSS is per component, not on the app level, basically. So yeah, to be honest, I often still use BEM.
Well, I like Tailwind.
Brainstorming about how to do scoped CSS at the moment in my head. I feel like there's a way. You just kind of get all the macros gotta work with each other, which is maybe the new hot reloading will fix it. Are the SDK issues going to be priority? I hope so. I
don't
do.
think there's.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think there's that many. There's like the one with Dioxus storage where it's a little bit limited, but they should be pretty easy. We could probably look at them in this release.
Did we export SDK from the Dioxus namespace or just leave it as a secondary crate? Probably leave it secondary. They are version matched, so.
I think secondary just so they don't have to be version matched.
Mm-hmm.
I would like secondary just so, like, I feel like there's going to be things moving around in it as we figure out the best way to do things. And I feel like tying that to Dioxus might limit us.
Yeah, I would love to get us on 1.0. I'm okay to reject the culture of Rust where 1.0s mean something. We are like an end crate just to have the flexibility that versions can float. Like we have their core implementation that is allowed to move around, and then everything else can shift on their own minor versions. That way, like SDK can live on its own version, that it's not version matched to Dioxus. We shall see. I think that will require some planning. But that would be a great thing for like the end of this year is like get on a 1.0, even if we ship a 2.0 or a 3.0, but getting on a 1.0 such that our core implementation is like mostly done for a while, or like we're not going to break those APIs, and then in the next version we like deprecate or kill some APIs. Yeah, official Docker images. That's on our list. If we go look at the thing. I didn't even realize we had a GitHub action for Dioxus. I completely forgot we made that, and I'm like getting pinged on it nowadays. And I'm like, oh wait, it's like literally on our roadmap. I'm like, we already have this. It has not been updated. Sorry, it has not been updated for a long time.
I didn't realize that.
Pride for. VS Code extension, or sorry, browser extensions. Guys, I use Safari. I don't know what those things are. What are browser extensions? The people, what is that?
Safari doesn't have extensions?
They do, but there's like 5 of them. There's an ad block. That's all I care about. Hey, I was right. Honey is a scam. Honey stole money from people. I don't have Chrome. I don't use Honey. I don't look for deals. I just go to Walmart like a normal person.
There's one you should use for Dioxus. There's a WASM debugger extension that sometimes works.
Something I really want to do is we shuttled the stack traces back, and the WASM module has no stack traces in it, or like none of the debug info. But with the debug info is in the CLI, I have no clue how hard this is, and it sounds terribly difficult, but reforming the stack traces in the CLI would be super nice, because then you could like click, like you click on it, and then it like takes you to the file with the error. Like you can like bubble up the issue into the editor. That would be cool.
Do we not
And you
have
don't
that?
need
I feel like my panic messages have that.
it does, because the symbols are in the WASM binary, like in the browser, and the whole panic comes back. But I don't have dwarf tools, so I mean I still get the line numbers. I don't know. Better dev tools would be nice. I really want really good dev tools. I have no clue when to put that on our our roadmap. I feel like I suggest these like random ideas, and people are like, I don't know, I think we should ship Tailwind in the CLI first. I'm like, okay, fine. Oh, Jesus, it's 11:23 here. Well, we'll probably log off soon. Does anybody have anything else? Oh, we can look through my little list of paper cuts. So half of it is bugs, half of it is documentation, and then the other half is paper cuts. Sums to 150%. Let me switch my screen. Share my screen window. This is my my personal little notion of I dogfood Dioxus, come up, hit an issue, and then like write it down. So some of the stuff, this is going to be a preview of like some of the paper cuts we've run into. There's some stuff. I think everything has an issue. Well, the bugs have issues. We don't hash WASM files. This is no bueno, because you deploy to GitHub and then it reloads the same WASM, and then you're like, now the versions are out of date. What else in here?
Next on my to-do list is getting that fixed.
Yeah, we insert all the scripts as script elements for the debug tools, and like when you go look at the generated HTML, it's like, why are we doing that? I want to move that to like link elements. What else? Device hot reloading. This is a thing. I think Andrew, you figured this out. For like we just bind to 0.0, and then we throw the right address at the mobile devices. Kind of an oversight on the last release. It was getting a little too full, but I think we were clear in the release that it was only emulators that we hot reloaded, but we should be able to get device hot reloading fairly easily. Our docs are pulling in all of the Dioxus versions. This is a symptom of how we're filtering results and how we're generating the thing. We should probably fix that. What else? SSG is flaky. I think you have a PR up for this, so that's good. Here, I'll put that here. Okay. Where else? What else is on here? Fix our AI integration. That's on the list. Oh, I did this. Okay, cool. Roadmap. I would love to put our roadmap on the doc site, and maybe a way for people to vote on features that they need. I saw some website do this one time. Like you could upvote the random entries on the roadmap. It means I need a KV store or something. I don't know. I don't know how we would save that. But like, I don't know, just throw a bunch of features at the wall and see what the community wants. Yeah. Okay. Good. People like that. What else is on here? Anyone have any paper cuts they've run into that they want us to fix?
There was environment variables mentioned earlier. I'm not sure if we can get that working in WASM easily without security concerns. There's often secrets in your environment, so we'd need like a specific environment variable like the env macro.
Yeah. I almost want us to send the env file to the WASM, like when DevTools connect. Like when it connects to the DevTools, we throw the env file at it, and then it calls set env. That way, get env works on WASM. I don't know, because we're doing this like meta tag thing, and like I don't know, get env would just be nice if it worked.
Meta tags are kind of nice because you can hot reload them, theoretically.
Yeah, I don't think it's super important that it works seamlessly. I just thought when I first tried using env file, it was kind of it was really unclear how to get it to work. I had to follow some article.
And then you kind of went like different ends for staging and production.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've seen the Veet rules for how they find end files, and it's like 1,000 places they look for end files. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, and just to mention again the storage issue, I really wanted to point that out because that's I would say for me at least, I think probably for not just me, that's a really big pain point because at the moment it's not really possible to actually store something in local storage, it seems, without, I don't know, maybe using some kind of workaround. So, for example, I'm trying to store a session which has, JWT tokens, like an access token and stuff, and it able to. It silently fails when you try to retrieve that session. So it's causing. It was. I'm not. Apparently, I'm not the only one who fell into this rabbit hole and wasn't able to figure out why it wasn't working.
I will add that to my little list. SDK, local storage, site failure. I believe there's an issue. Is that right? That there's a GitHub?
Yeah, there's an
Yeah.
issue open.
Yeah, I posted it in the SDK channel.
That's good. It's good to know. See, this is the on my on the release post. It was please dog food find create issue and then help us solve it. Storage check cannot do CLIs. Everything Certi can. Interesting.
Yeah, Certi, there are like some Certi serializers that support self-describing formats and some that don't. And I think we chose one that is small, but it doesn't support as much. So we just switch. But it should be a fairly simple change because it's all through Certi, just changing the import.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Set style attributes. All right, I'm going through. I love it. We have so many suggestions, so many paper cuts. Keep them coming. We got a database, temporary code saving. Could probably do that in local storage temporarily. I think really want to add accounts to the doc site. Like I don't know, sign in with GitHub, and then like you can save your components that you've built, and I don't know, you save.
Yeah, I think the playground uses gists to save code. The Rust playground.
Didn't someone just get kicked off of GitHub for saving too many gists?
I got kicked off of a code sandbox, which we use in our docs, because I think we got visited too much. But they may have actually special cased us because we have like unlimited credits or something now. We never get blocked.
Yeah, let's see. Really Tailwind, not hot reloading. I mean, I feel it works for me, but there's an issue. Like if it's in your git ignore, like the Tailwind thing is in your git ignore. Our priority is like even if you're including the asset, we run the git ignore first. And what we should really be doing is like watching the file regardless of the git ignore if you specify the path. Like, there's like an ordering thing there. So there's a chance. Maybe there's a different issue. It might be fixed and we haven't released it. Could be a thing on Windows. We've been running into like universal like UNC paths or whatever. Part of the better CI in this release is like harnesses for this kind of stuff. Like we modify contents of a file on every platform in CI, and then we make sure that they hot reload. Documentation page on environment and variable handling. I talked about that. Set style attribute to be exposed on Dioxus mounted event API. Yes, we wanted to switch node ref. We want to switch to node ref. Mounted data is like a name for a thing, but I think like almost an imperative API to elements. I don't know. Evan, Miles, we've been thinking about this for a while, haven't we? I don't know if we have a solution for it yet.
Yeah, there was a pull request a while ago that exposed a like current node in the eval, which I don't know. It would work. It's kind of nice, but I'm not sure how much we want to do like implicit arguments to eval.
Mm.
Eventually, like the WebAssembly thing or Wazenbindgen thing that works with desktop would be really nice here, but there should be a workaround.
Add an alternative to librust OpenSSL sysdev package. Supposedly, Nico got this working, and I think it is like exporting the OpenSSL dir into the env. Those are random words, but I think we can do the same thing. We are setting all of the flags you need to set for OpenSSL to cross build, except for I think the location of OpenSSL. So we might not even need it vendored. Again, it might take a look, or we just implicitly vendor it. Like we rely on OpenSSL in Dioxus Mobile with the vendored flag, which I don't know if that's a big deal or not. What happened to wait for next render? I think we killed it. Did we kill it? We have.
I think so. I would like to. I'm not sure what like the run on previous render and run on next render are supposed to do, like what the purpose of them is, but they do still exist. We maybe used to use them for effects and no longer do.
Yeah, we used to have what is basically like a flush sync, right? Like you could run a thing before the frame cuts or something like that.
Yeah.
I think
I
now go ahead. Sorry.
I had a bunch of signals for my terminal that would basically make all the sizing work. And I think I had about 6 wait for renders, and on 0.6, a lot of them are buggy now because there's no longer the wait for next render.
Equivalent, I think, would be queue effect. That queues the effect for the next client-side render. It's compatible with SSR, so an SSR it will just not run.
Sweet, I'll see about moving it to that then.
Queue effect's not a hook, right? You can run it anytime. You just have to give it a static feature. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like spawn. It's a function, not a feature.
Native mobile RTC. That's a good one. That's a hard one. Is it? I wonder if we could add something in SDK that does it. I know there's like a Rust WebRTC stack. I mean, for the simple case of like a video chat application, like a desktop app, you kind of probably just want to do that in the web view. But that means there needs to be some JavaScript shim layer. And I think that's like bouncing, like you have to redirect a stream into the web view or something like that. Yeah. No, it's definitely.
I think there's a really old issue about this. Like Uplink was trying to do it, right?
Yeah. Get around to it. I say that. That one's a hard one. Or it's like, do you want a native stack, native WebRTC stack, or would you rather just use like something on the system? Okay. Well, as much as I would want to hang out here for hours. Any final questions, thoughts? Best way to do auth now. What is the best way to do auth now? You like guard server function endpoints with an extractor, like a session. Yeah.
I don't think the authentication example is updated with it. The authentication example should work now, and it guards like a whole bunch of server functions by manually registering them, or you can create your own tower layer that guards server functions.
Okay. Look into it. We should update our example. It's probably something in the realm of like full stack improvements. Our full stack improvements for this release are kind of nebulous. With the ideas like we just dog food apps that we like and build and get feedback from the community, and then just go fix that sort of stuff. So I think like WebSockets and SSE is like one of those like not that much work on our end, but very useful because it's just like a thing you can't do. And then guards, extractors, and all that. making that a little bit easier, and then error propagation into client components is also a point. Okay. Well, I think that's it. Cool. Okay. Yes. Thank you, guys. This was a very very full office hours. We'll keep doing this. Well, we never really did an at here announcement, or like we didn't ping everybody for any of the previous ones. So it's good to know that when you ping everybody, some of them show up. I always feel bad pinging people. You know what I mean? I don't want to give you a notification that you didn't want. I love you too, Eli. Yes, I'm hoping. When you do 2 videos a month, it's like the middle of the month and the end of the month. So maybe in like a week, we'll get the hot dog tutorial video out. I did make a video on how hot reloading works. It is not it's unlisted. You have to find it in the docs. I was a little embarrassed. Maybe we'll publish it as like a real thing. Yes, I'll give you a link. It's somewhere in the docs. But the hot dog thing, well, I gotta channel the Gen Z energy. I think those are fun videos to watch. Everyone's got such fried attention spans. You gotta like put sounds and animations and GIFs and stuff. We have almost 1,500 subscribers on our YouTube. That's crazy. One video. I love it. $30,000 views on 0.6. That's awesome. Here you go. Oh, nope. That's my studio. Yeah, hot dog tutorial is just 20 different shorts. Yeah, probably. Every page is a short. All right. We'll ping people more aggressively then. It's good. I think once a month you get a ping from us, and then eventually you mute us if you get tired of it or you show up. Discord stage. Yeah, someone's gonna have to teach me. I'm Gen Z, but I'm also a boomer. I have no clue how Discord works. Someone's gonna have to help me out. One of the youngins in the chat. I turned 25 recently. I'll be honest, it's kind of scaring me. Not to yap about getting old, but oh my god. Turned 23. Yep, look at that. We're getting older. The world's changing around us. I don't even know if we need apps in the next generation. If AI can generate apps, then apps are useless, right? Like this. Yes, we really have some youngins here. Yes, Eli, it is unlisted. I was a little embarrassed to publish on the as a main video. Just the one. We just have one. We have the 0.6. I want to keep the quality of the videos high. Like the YouTube algorithm. You gotta appeal to it. Every video has to be a banger, certified banger videos, and then you make an alt channel for your like kind of not so great ones. I want to make a YouTube channel of certified bangers. Every video is a banger. Yeah. Okay. I don't know about Mr. Beast. My attention span's a little fried after watching a couple of them. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you for showing up. This was amazing. Good to see everybody. We shall see you next month. Next month, Dioxus have fewer issues, one hopes. And then the month after that, hopefully new stuff you can mess around with. And then the month after that, a full release. So yeah, keep us honest. Okay. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.